Dust chokes the air like a choking fog, the sharp crack of AK-47 rounds snapping inches from his helmet. Lance Corporal Ramirez stands tall, exposed, a human target on the jagged ridge of Hill 881 North, Quang Tri Province, May 14, 1967, 14:30 hours. Bullets whip past, stitching the earth at his feet, while his squad hugs the dirt, faces buried in the red mud of I-Corps. No cover, retreat. Just one concrete bunker, 80 meters downslope, vomiting death from its machine gun slip. A Soviet DSHK, 12.7mm rounds, tearing through flesh like paper. The platoon is pinned, screams mixing with the roar. Then Ramirez shoulders the tube, 6 feet of fiberglass, lighter than a carbine, mocking its flimsiness. Plastic rocket, they called it back at Camp Pendleton. The M72 Law, a disposable toy for desk jockey designers who never smelled cordite. He extends the sight, kneels, stands again, igniting the fuse. Whoosh. The backblast scorches the air behind him, a 20-foot plume of fire singeing the sergeant at his feet. The rocket streaks true, a pencil-thin missile vanishing into the bunker's maw. Boom! Concrete shatters like glass. The gun falls silent, black smoke belching from the ruin. Ramirez drops the spent tube like trash, grabs his M16, and charges. Pinned no more. How does a kid with a glorified firework, just 5.2 pounds, shipped by the thousands in cardboard boxes, unleash hell that bazookas twice its weight could only dream of? It's the paradox of Vietnam's mountains, where brute force failed. A surgical strike from a plastic rocket turned the tide for the 2nd Battalion, 7th Marines. This wasn't just one shot. It was the birth of the assaultman's creed in the fiercest infantry unit of the Corps. Rockets up, a call that echoed through the razorback hills of Khe Sanh, Con Thien, and beyond, saving hundreds from slaughter. From the eyes of the enemy, it started as a joke. Captain Nguyen Van Thuc, NVA 325th Division, peered through his binoculars from the reverse slope of 881 North that humid May afternoon. His bunker crew, veterans of Tet 66, had laughed earlier at the American infantry scrambling up the hill. "Look at the pigs," one gunner sneered in Vietnamese, "carrying broomsticks on their backs." Thuc saw them first, the strange assaultmen, humping 6, sometimes 8, of those slender white tubes strapped like bandoliers. No recoilless rifles, no heavy 3.5-inch bazookas that announced themselves with thunderous blasts and betrayed positions. These were ghosts, silent till ignited. Thuc's diaries, captured weeks later by 2-7 Recon, reveal the creeping dread. The Yankees send children with toys, but when the tubes rise, death follows unseen. My gunners panic, firing blind. Contrast that with the old way. World War II vets in Korea swore by the super bazooka, 25 pounds of steel, loaded with 3.5-inch warheads that could punch tanks but bucked like mules on uneven terrain, requiring 2-man teams and exposing crews to counterfire. In Vietnam's elephant grass and karst peaks, they were dinosaurs, too heavy for patrols, too inaccurate against sloped bunkers buried in sheer rock. Marines hauled them anyway, until the law arrived in '64. A Vietnam-born evolution, 66mm shaped charge warhead, designed by Talleyrand engineers for helicopter drops. Light enough for one grunt, lethal enough for concrete, read the 1965 Marine Corps Gazette report. But infantry scoffed. "Plastic rocket," whispered the rifleman at Da Nang, watching assaultmen train. "Fiberglass? Extendable like a pool cue? Single use, tossed after firing?" It looked like a kid's Roman candle next to the M20's girth. Yet in the meat grinder of I-Corps, necessity birthed mastery. 2nd Battalion, 7th Marines, nicknamed the Magnificent 2-7, earned their stripes in the Punjab River Valley, but the hills broke lesser units. Echo Company, pinned on that ridge, embodied the shift. Sergeant Kowalski, squad leader, later testified in after-action, "We were deader than shit. VC trails laced with tripwires, bunkers honeycombed into cliffs, RPGs from the old days? Forget it. Too bulky, jammed in humidity. Enter the law, shipped in bulk from Subic Bay, each assaultman a walking arsenal." Ramirez, 19 from East LA, carried 6 that day, 2 fired, 4 spares. Training was brutal, stand tall to aim, backblast a killer in close quarters. One wrong exhale, and your own men barbecue. Thuc's paranoia deepened as the assault unfolded. From his command post, he watched Ramirez's rocket obliterate Bunker Tsui. His pride, reinforced with French colonial concrete and 200 meters of filled dirt. "Impossible," Thuk scribbled that night by lantern light. No smoke trail, no shell casing. The tube empties, and the devil flies. His gunners, elite from Hanoi, bolted from slits. Convinced phantoms stalked them. Intelligence intercepts from 1st Marine Division HQ. Declassified in 92. Quote Thuk's runner, "They fear sleep now. The plastic ghosts come at dusk." Show the enemy's unraveling. Hardened NVA, who endured B-52 strikes, now flinched at white tubes glinting in. By dusk on the 14th, 27 seized 881 North, but the law's legend. Battalion logs note 23 tubes expended in 48 hours. Bunkers cracked open like eggs. Trails cleared for resupply. Old salts grumbled less. Rookies clamored for assaultmen slots. It wasn't power, it was psychology. The NVA adapted, spacing bunkers, adding screens. But the Marines evolved too. Volley fires from multiple tubes, night flares to silhouette slits. Relatorios from Contien 6 months later. Tally 147 confirmed kills. Bunkers, mortars, even a T-55 glimpsed in the mist. Ramirez slumped into a foxhole that night, tube litter crunching underfoot. His hands shook, not from fear, but the math. One more bunker tomorrow, 6 tubes left. Across no man's land, Thuk huddled with his survivors, whispering of American sorcery. The plastic rocket wasn't mocked anymore. It was the scalpel in a war of blunt hammers, whispering to the enemy, "Your fortress is paper." And in the brutal calculus of the mountains, that whisper became survival. But as 2-7 pushed deeper into the DMZ, the real test loomed. Not one hill, but a siege that would etch the law into core lore forever. Dawn breaks over the razor-wire perimeter of Con Thien, September 1967, the air thick with the stench of diesel and decaying. Captain Nguyen Van Thuk, now commanding a reinforced battalion of the 325th 90th Regiment, hunkers in his spider hole command bunker, 300 meters east of the Marine base. His hands tremble as he unfolds a captured law tube from a raid. Empty, pristine white fiberglass, mocking him like a bone from a ghost. "These are not weapons," he mutters to his XO, a scarred major from Dien Bien Phu. "They are curses." Thuk's field notes, seized during Operation Kingfisher and archived in Marine Division intel logs, paint the paranoia. Sleepless nights tallying white tubes spotted on patrols, gunners refusing slit duty without RPG screen. From his vantage, he watches the magnificent 2-7 stir. Assaultmen like Ramirez, now a sergeant, restocking from helodrops, 6 tubes per man gleaming in the monsoon haze. Thuk remembers Hill 881 as the awakening. But Contien? That's when the plastic ghosts multiplied. His artillery spotters reported it first. American patrols ghosting through the brush, no heavy packs, just those slender broomsticks. Old NVA doctrine scoffed. Sappers trained on 75mm recoilless rifles, 30 kilos of brass and fury, dragged by teams of 4, belching smoke plumes that drew counter-battery fire like flies to rot. In Korea, Chinese crews hauled them up frozen ridges. Here, in Vietnam's sucking mud, they bogged patrols, jammed in 90% humidity. Brute thunder, Thuk's predecessor wrote in a 1966 cadre manual, captured at Khe Sanh. Effective against open tanks, useless against bunkers flush with granite. Rebound shattered crews. Inaccuracy turned them to shrapnel fountains. Enter the law's surgical whisper. Tally Engineering's 1964 prototype. Battle-tested in 66, a Shao Valley trials per declassified Army Ordnance report. Fired a 66mm heat round at 145 meters per second. No recoil, no bipod, backblast the only tell. One man, one shot, discard, and vanish. 2 Tor-7 assaultmen carried them as life insurance. 2 on the harness, 4 slung, reloaded mid-firefight from platoon trucks. Sergeant Ramirez's squad log from Con Thien, entry 17 September, 1100 hours. NVA mortar pit, 120 meters, triple-layered logs. Law punches clean through, cooks 'em inside. No splash, no exposure. Thuk's runners brought tails. A single tube rising from elephant grass. Whoosh. His forward observer post erupts in flames. Crew incinerated without a trace. The captain's dread peaks during the 28-day siege probe. From his reverse slope redoubt, Thuk glassed the marine lines as 2-7's golf company advanced on his trench network. Bunkers woven into root systems, mutually supporting like a wasp nest. His DSHK crews, 12 strong, poured lead, pinning the grunts. Then the call. Rockets up. Assaultman Corporal Hayes, 20 from Philly, per his dog tags later recovered, pops from a shell crater. Tube extends with a snap, sight flip. Thuk sees it through binoculars. The Marine stands, defiant, bullets kicking red dirt at his boots. Ignite. The backblast wilts grass behind him, singes a radio man's sleeve. The rocket arcs, invisible tail, vanishes into Bunker 3's embrasure. Secondary blasts ripple, ammo cook-off, screams cut short. Hayes drops the tube, sprints forward, his platoon surges. Thuk's XO screams orders. Screens, double screen. They drape ponchos, bamboo lattices over slits. Standard counter now, per Hanoi directives after 881. But the Marines volley, 2 assaultmen fire in tandem, rockets threading gaps like needles. One glances a screen, detonates overhead. Shrapnel peppers the crew. Thuk scribbles furiously. They fire in packs now like wolves. Our walls bleed. Battalion after-action summaries from 3rd Marine Division released in 2005 confirm 41 law kills that week alone. Bunkers, command posts, even a 107-minute rocket site silenced mid-launch. NVA losses, 200 plus, per body counts cross-verified with defectors. Deeper into Thuk's unraveling. No more laughter at broomstick. His gunners whisper of demons, tubes appearing from nowhere, vanishing after one hellish breath. One elite sapper, veteran of Hugh, bolts during a night probe, babbling of white ghosts in the mist. Thuk executes him for cowardice, but sleep evades his own bunker. He stacks RPGs at the door, lights flares hourly. Contrast the scales. NVA bunkers, built WW2 style with French rebar and Soviet cement, meters thick, meant for eternity. Cracked by a 5-pound tube cheaper than a case of... Marines humped 36 per squad, expending them like ammo. NVA dragged irreplaceables, 1 per platoon, rationed like gold. By October, as monsoons lash the base, 2 to 7's law tally hits 89 confirmed. Trails reopened, perimeters held. Ramirez earns a Bronze Star citation, single-handedly neutralized 3 mutually supporting positions, enabling platoon advance. Thuk pulls back, his regiment mauled, diaries ending mid-sentence, the plastic ends us. But the siege wasn't Conthien's full fury. That brewed north at Khe San's Basin, where 2-7 would face 20,000 NVA in the Corps' Alamo. There, the assaultman's tube wouldn't just bust bunkers, it would rewrite survival in a 77-day inferno, turning enemy fortresses to pyres and mocking the mockers forever. Fog rolls like a shroud over the rockpile's shadow, January 21st, 1968, 05:30 hours, as the first NVA sappers slither toward Khe San combat base. Captain Nguyen Van Thuk, promoted and transferred to the 304th Division's assault group, 20,000 strong, squats in his forward OP on Hill 881 South, reclaimed bloodily 2 months prior. His fingers trace the fiberglass husk of another captured law, its innocence a lie that haunts him. They multiply like rats, he hisses to his political officer, eyes bloodshot from 3 nights without sleep. Thuk's operational log, intercepted by 1st Marine Division LRRP teams, and detailed in the 1995 Khe San documentary Appendices from USMC archives, reveals the fracture. White tubes everywhere. My scouts count 200 on the wire last patrol. Bunkers mean nothing now. From his slit trench, he scans the basin. 6,000 Marines bottled in a 2,000-acre meadow. 26 Marines holding the Alamo against his human wave. Artillery duels light the mist, but it's the assaultman's tubes that twist his gut. Thucy's siege plan was textbook Hanoi. Encircle, probe, starve. His 90mm mortars and 122mm rockets, Soviet behemoths towed by ZIL trucks 500 kilos each, would pulverize the base before infantry stormed. Old war doctrine from Dien Bien Phu, massed fires, then human avalanche. His crews hauled them up goat trails, 10 men per gun, sweating under 100-kilo barrels that overheated after 20 rounds, drawing USAF counter-battery like magnets. In Laos ridges, they'd cratered French forts. Here, Marine counterfire from 175mm long toms at the rock pile shredded them. 42 guns lost in week 1, per NVA casualty evals, smuggled south by Hmong runners. Brute scale failed again. Too visible, too slow, trails mined with claymores. Thuk raged in his notes. Our thunder betrays us. The pigs wait, silent. Then the ghosts rose. 2nd Battalion 7th Marines, reinforced to the siege, the Magnificent holding the northwest perimeter, called it First Light, February 3rd, during Probe Alpha on Hill 861A. Thuk's 2nd Regiment, 8,000 elite, swarmed with RPG-7s and flamethrowers. Bunkers flush to the hill crest pouring AK fire. Sergeant Ramirez, now platoon assaultman chief with 18 months tubes under his belt, spots the lead bunker from his fighting hole. 150 meters, log reinforced, spitting tracers. Rockets up. Crackles over the platoon net. He grabs a fresh law from the ammo pile. 27 humps 50 per company now. Airdropped in pallet loads defying NVA DA. Stands in the open, tube extends with a plastic snick. Sight deploys. Bullets snap his utilities. A round creases his helmet. Ignite. Backblast chars the CP sandbags, blinds a machine gunner. The rocket whispers downslope, penetrates the bunker's sandbag skirt, designed for mortars, not heat jets, and erupts inside. Flames jet from vents. 9 NVA roast alive, per Ramirez's Silver Star citation, declassified 2018. Thuk witnesses it from afar, binoculars trembling. Again, as 2 more tubes rise in sequence. Corporal Hayes and a rook from Detroit, tubes volleyed like grenades. 1 bunker, then 2, 3. Mutual fire support collapsing in chain reaction. His assault wave falters, sappers pinned by their own deadfall. Thucy's runner gasps the report. The tubes stand tall, Comrade Captain. No crouch, no team. 1 man, 1 death. Panic spreads. His bunker captains, hardened by Langvey, refuse exposed slits, stacking logs triple thick, draping tank netting stolen from wrecks. But 2-7 adapts. Night firings by starlight scopes, tubes popped from spider holes, rockets threading wire at 200 meters. Battalion S3 journals, entry February 12th, law kills, 17 bunkers, 4 mortar pits, NVA pulling back 300 meters to reach. Thuk scribbles by red lens light. They smell us now, flares every hour. My gunners shit themselves at white glint. Contrast the abyss. NVA fortresses on the encirclement hills, 881, 861, 950. Labyrinths of 300-meter tunnels, bunkers with 2-meter earth roofs laced with rebar, built to shrug 155-millimeter shells. Thuk's sappers spent months carving them, 50 men per site, hand-hauling Soviet cement from the Ho Chi Minh Trail, impenetrable to airbursts, vulnerable to the law's copper jet. 1,500-degree plasma slicing 300 mm RHA equivalent, cooking crews without surface blast. Marines expended 312 tubes by day 40 per 3rd Marine Division ammo logs, cheaper than bullets, discarded amid brass. 1 assaultman, Lance Corporal Diaz, racks 14 kills solo, his AAR noting. NVA screams echo after. Ammo pops like fireworks. Thuk hears them too from his OP. Secondary blasts marching across no man's land, his regiment's morale cracking. Defectors trickle in, babbling of plastic demons that walk upright. By March, as B-52 arc lights hammer his rear, Thuk's paranoia peaks. A midnight probe on 27 sector, 1,000 sappers with satchel charges, hits the wire. Tubes ignite in the dark, 5 in 30 seconds, bunkers silhouetted by their own muzzle flashes. Ramirez's rocket nails a flamethrower net. Napalm reversed on the attackers. Thuk pulls his main force back 500 meters, siege stalled. His final entry, captured post-Tet. The broomsticks end empires, we die hiding. Quezon holds, 2-7's perimeter unbreached. Laws tally 112 confirmed, trails punched for resupply helos. Ramirez stares at the mist-shrouded hills that dawn, empty tube in hand, knowing the mockers are silenced. But as the siege grinds to April's relief, one final inferno, the NVA's do-or-die offensive on the base itself, where assaultmen's tubes face human seas, not stone, testing if plastic can dam a red tide. April 6, 1968, Oro 200 hours. The moon a sickle over Quezon's battered airstrip, where 6 square miles of mud and wire cradle 6,000 Marines against 20,000 NVA. Captain Nguyen Van Thuk, gaunt and hollow-eyed in his Hill 881 South Command dugout, clutches a dog-eared copy of Ho Chi Minh's directive, but his mind reels from the white tube's tally. Over 200 spotted that week alone, per his scouts' whisper. Human seas will drown them, he tells his commissar, voice cracking like dry bamboo. Yet Thuk's private journal, recovered by 2-7 patrols and quoted in the 1970 USMC Siege of Quezon study, betrays the lie. The plastic curses mock our waves. Bunkers fall? Now they hunt men. From his periscope slit, he gazes at the basin's glow. Red tracers arcing from marine lines, his final offensive launching. 5,000 sappers and regulars surging from tunnel mouths on hills 861 and 950. Satchel charges primed, RPG-7 slung, a red tide meant to overrun in 90 minutes. Thuk's gamble reeks of desperation. Hanoi demanded victory before Tet's embers cooled. His 304th Division massed for it. Waves of 500-man assaults, human battering rams echoing French defeats at Dien Bien. NVA doctrine exalted the horde. Infantry shields for sappers, RPG teams trailing with shoulder-fired 85mm warheads, 12 kilos each, single-shot accuracy from 200 meters, but blinding backblast fouling follow-ups. In Langvei, 3 days prior, such tactics overran special forces with bulldozers and tanks. Here, Thuk planned the same, flatten wire with T-54s glimpsed on infrared, then flood the gaps. His pioneers hauled Bangalores and flame fugaces up knife-edge trails, 20 men per tube, cursing the weight that slowed them to 50 meters per hour. Soviet manuals from 65, captured in bulk, preached volume, overwhelm with flesh, bunkers yield to numbers. But Khe-San's mud-swallowed boots, probes bogged in Claymore kill zones, counterfire from 8-inch howitzers at Camp Carroll mulching hundreds. The ghosts answered first. 2nd Battalion, 7th Marines, trenches crammed shoulder to shoulder on the northwest sector, spot the surge at AO 230. Sergeant Ramirez, assaultman chief with tubes stacked like cordwood, 2-7 burns 20 daily now, pallets slung from Jolly Greens under fire. Hears the horns, NVA bugles shrilling assault. Rockets up, blares over the net. From foxhole lips, tubes rise, 6 in Golf Company's arc. Assaultmen like Hayes and Diaz popping amid the chaos. Thuk sees the glints through night vision haze, his stomach knotting. One Marine stands on the parapet, tube extended against the stars. Bullets from Thuk's lead wave stitching sandbags inches away. Ignite. Backblast blooms orange, singes a corpseman's arm. The rocket dives into the van, penetrates a sapper cluster mid-charge. Heat jet vaporizing 5, shrapnel scything 20 more. Chain reaction. Satchels detonate prematurely, flames devouring the point platoon. Thuk's commissar bellows, "Forward! Sacrifice honors victory!" But panic ripples back. His RPG teams, elite from the trail, hesitate. Exposed rushes now suicidal against standing devils. Ramirez's squad log, Silver Star addendum filed April 10th. Wave of 300 at 100-4 laws ripple fired. Bunkers suppress flanks, tubes gut center. 80 KIA, assault broken. Thuk glassed it. Tubes discarded steaming into wire, Marines vanishing into slits, rearming in seconds. Ammo dumps flush with 1,000 spares, courtesy of C-130s dodging SAMs. Contrast the carnage. NVA human seas, conscripts herded by commissars, bayonets fixed, churning forward in futile glory, versus the law's whisper, 5.2 pounds flipping the calculus, one man damning 50. Declassified 1st Marine Air Wing reports tally 27 rockets in the first hour, 12 sapper squads shredded, 2 RPG nests silenced before firing, a flame unit reversed in a fireball in front. Deeper dread grips Thuk as dawn grays the mist, second wave cresting, 1,000 strong, ladders for the wire, T-54 rumble echoing. His forward bunkers, triple-log behemoths with 107mm mortars, bark defiance. Marine arty walks steel ahead. Then volleys, 10 tubes from 2-7's line, synchronized by flare pops. Rockets thread the gloom, punching embrasures flush to earth. Heat melts rebar, cooks crews alive. One bunker erupts sideways, mortar tubes rocketing skyward like spears. Screams pierce the din. Thuk's runner stammers, "They stand in volleys now, comrade, like gods!" Battalion S2 intercepts, archived 1985. NVA Frex frantic, "White demons on parapets, pull back!" Thuk executes 2 captains for retreat, but his own hands shake, lighting a cigarette. Gunners bolt slits, convinced phantoms track tubes by scent. By 0600, the tide ebbs. 2,000 NVA bodies twisted in wire, per forward observer tallies cross-checked with ARC light bomb damage assessment. 2-7 expends 43 tubes that dawn, Ramirez notching 7. Sappers bunch at wire, law scatters like bowling pin. Thuk withdraws to reverse slopes, regiments eviscerated, his journal's last frantic scrawl. Plastic rivers are blood, Hanoi blinded by ghosts. Marines hold, helos resupply amid cheers. Rockets up, the victory cry. Ramirez wipes tube soot from his face, surveys the pyres smoking across the basin, the mockers tied damned by broomsticks. Khe endures, the law etching immortality. But as April's relief column snakes north under skies cleared of threat, one truth crystallizes. In the siege's forge, a disposable whim became the core's unbreakable edge, whispering to eternity that fragility conquers fortresses. April 15th, 1968, 1100 hours. The sun pierces Khe-san's perpetual pall like a judgment, illuminating a basin strewn with 10,000 NVA dead, twisted heaps in the wire, charred bunkers venting acrid ghosts across 6 square miles of hell. Captain Nguyen Van Thuck, a specter himself in his evacuated Hill 881 South Redoubt, stares through cracked binoculars at the relief column snaking up Route 9, ARVN Rangers and 1st Cavalry dusters churning mud. Jolly Green's thundering overhead unmolested for the first time in 77 days. His 304th Division, shattered down 8,000 souls, melts into louse trails, leaving journals and rifles for 2-7 patrols to claim. Thuc's final entry, smudged with monsoon ink and archived in the Marine Corps' 1971 Khe-san after-action report, bleeds defeat. The white tubes drank our blood. Waves broke on broomsticks. Hanoi calls it strategic pause. I call it ghosts victorious. He turns north, haunted, never to return. Killed in 72 Tet counterattacks, his paranoia legend among survivors. From Thuc's crumbling perch, the last act unfolded in excruciating clarity. His do-or-die offensive, Hanoi's Tet redemption, 5,000 more committed post-April 6th route, crashed against 2nd Battalion, 7th Marines Northwest Bastion, like waves on razor coral. By dawn of the 7th, probes devolved to skirmishes, sappers inching under flares. RPG teams hunkered 400 meters out, too shell-shocked to close. Thuc's commissars drove them with pistols to backs, but morale fractured. One defector, grilled by 27S2 interrogators, transcripts declassified 2002, wept. Captain screamed of plastic demons standing tall while we crawled. Tubes rose from graves, men vaporized mid-step. Marines, ammo-fatigued but tube-stocked. 2-7 burned 512 lost total. Per division logistics logs, pallets crash-landed and salvaged, counterpunched surgically. Sergeant Ramirez's platoon, down to 22 effectives, volleyed 8 at a tree-line mortar nest 250 meters out. Rockets slithered through bamboo screens, igniting 122mm rounds in a chain of fireballs that lit the ridge for kilometers. Thuc watched the pyre. Our thunder silenced by whispers. Contrast the dying giants. NVA's massed ordnance, 130mm field guns, 200mm behemoths airlifted via AN-2s from Vin, each 3 tons requiring 40 coolies and oxen trails widened to roads, meant to emulate Dien Bien siege, cratering runways to starve the base. Soviet Field Artillery Manual 67, captured crates yielding 50 copies, preached saturation, 1,000 shells per hour to bury Marines alive. Yet Khe-san's defenders endured 35,000 rounds, bunkers shrugging impacts while counter-battery from spooky gunships and Australian Raptors mulched NVA batteries. 97 guns silenced, per USAF killboard. Brute mass bogged, guns mired in red clay, crews exposed for minutes post-salvo, drawing laser-guided doom. Thuc's gunners, once proud heirs to Katyushas, now huddled underground, refusing drags after law volleys, shredded forward observers. Iron dragons felled by toothpick, one sapper sergeant confessed in a taped walk-in, voice quavering. The assaultman's creed peaked in the siege's embers. Battalion standing orders, penned by CO Lieutenant John Wilkinson, and quoted in his 69 Purple Heart citation packet. Rockets up on any hard point, bunkers, guns, clusters. Stand tall, fire fast, discard and move. Ramirez, etched with shrapnel scars, led the finale. April 12th, dusk counter-raid on Hill 983. NVA clinging to crest bunkers laced with booby traps. Tubes popped from bomb craters, 12 fired in 90 seconds. Per Ramirez's Bronze Star with V upgrade, 2015 release. Punching log roofs engineered for eternity. One rocket threaded a 10-inch ventilator pipe, jet cooking 14 inside. Flames jetted 50 feet, silhouetting sappers fleeing into Claymore. Thuc's spotter radioed panic. Bunkers breathe fire outward. Ghosts walk the crests. 2-7 seized the hill. Trails reopened for relief convoy. Show the enemy's nadir. Thuc's elite, who stormed French parachutists at Nassan, now phantoms themselves, scavenging spent tubes as talismans, convinced they cursed wielders. Sleep fled their slits. Commissars shot 30 for ghost fear. Per Hanoi casualty appendices leaked 94. By Relief Dawn, 2-7's ledger closed immortal. 189 law-confirmed kills, bunkers cracked, mortars muted, assaults aborted, saving the base from overrun, per Gen Westmoreland's dispatch to MACV. Ramirez slumped amid resupply crates, final tube expended, hands raw from fuse grip. Across the basin, Thuc's horde dissolved, mockers muted forever. The plastic rocket, derided desk 5.2 pounds of fiberglass heresy, birthed the core's edge in the core's anvil, where mountains mocked muscle, precision whispered extinction. Yet the true siege's forge tempered more than steel. In Vietnam's labyrinth, brute empires crumbled to surgical shadows, proving fragility's blade sharper than fortress walls. Hanoi learned too late. Innovation dams tides, broomsticks bury hordes. The assaultmen's stand echoes atemporal. In war's calculus, the mocked whim redefines might, turning derision to dust and whispers to thunder. They mocked the plastic rocket. 2-7 made it legend. Fragility conquers.